it automatically muted me. I didn't hit mute. Anyways, good afternoon, everybody. So it's great to see you all, and I'm really excited and appreciate everyone who's on the call today to learn a little bit about the 2020 Marching Pirates. So first and foremost, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to introduce all of our panelists, and we'll kind of get right into it. So first and foremost, I'm Dr. Joe Bassito. This is my first year as Director of the Marching Pirates and Director of Athletic Bands at East Carolina. I'm really excited to get down there. As you can probably see behind me, I've got a whole pile of boxes, so I'm doing this call from New Jersey. This will be one of my last calls here from here, and then I'll be joining y'all next week. We actually move down next Monday, so I'm real excited for that. Also on this call right now, we have Dr. Bill Staub, who was Director of Athletic Bands at ECU for 8 years and is now our Director of Bands. He's been working with me to kind of help facilitate the transition. He's given me a ton of great information, and we've kind of built a lot around the legacy that he's kind of left for us. We have Aaron Davis. Aaron is a student with us here. Aaron's a junior, third-year member of the Marching Pirates. His major is exercise physiology, and he's one of the drumline section leaders. We have Lindsay Holder on the call. She's one of the section leaders with the color guard. She's a senior, a fourth-year member of the Marching Pirates, majoring in recreational therapy. And then I'm not sure if she's on the call yet, but we'll have Mary Kiefreiter on as well. She's one of the 3 drum majors, also a senior and a fourth-year member of the Marching Pirates, majoring in music therapy. So that's sort of a very small contingent of who's going to be making up the Marching Pirates this year. We've been working really hard to kind of make sure that that the experience is sort of built, and is specifically built to make sure that no matter what happens, everyone that signs up to be part of the Marching Pirates is going to have a pretty incredible experience. Obviously this season is going to look a little different for us, but we're going to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that that it's as normal as possible. So what we'll go over today are several different things. We're going to go through and talk a little bit about getting registered for marching band, some of the onboarding procedures that are part of being with us. We're going to talk a little bit about the season schedule and what's on tap for us. We'll talk also just some things about, in particular, our website. We've kind of worked to kind of bulk that up, and I think it does a really nice job of kind of demonstrating some of the expectations, or at least some of the things that you can expect to find as a member of the Marching Pirates. So right off the bat, before I get into kind of sharing some of the things about some of the details about being a part of the band, I want to talk about who's, some of our membership right now and the organization that you're looking at. One of the things that I've always taken a lot of pride in is trying to get to know our students, any students that I've worked with in the past, getting to know their interests, getting to know where they're from, and really what they're trying to get out of the marching band experience. So I have a couple of different things I want to share with you. First and foremost about how our membership is sort of broken up right now. I think one of the coolest things about every marching band I've ever worked with, and this is one of the coolest numbers I've seen yet, is with regard to the diversity of the academic interests of our students. So we have right now, we've got about 49 different majors represented in the students that have signed up to participate in the Marching Pirates right now. 49 majors represents 79% of all the majors offered at ECU. So if, those of us that are on the call right now, if you're concerned about finding someone who's like you, that's going to share some of the same challenges as you, you can pretty well rest assured that you're going to find someone who's just like you, that's going to have the same kinds of time commitments, and they'll be navigating sort of the same types of challenges that you will. We have 8 students that are, at least so far, that are double majors. 3 of the students are in the Honors College. We have just about 50% of everyone in the band is in a group outside of the marching band. They do other groups, fraternities, sororities, other interest groups that they do in addition to being a part of what we do. There's no doubt that being in the Marching Pirates is a huge time commitment, even with the fact, and we'll talk about our formatting for game days, even with the fact that, we rehearse 3 days a week and 2 hours a day, and then we'll have our game day responsibilities. All of these students have found a way to make sure that they're staying involved in a lot of different ways on campus. And not to mention that the band's average GPA at the moment is a 3.3. Okay, so that's that's very strong. I think the way that our membership is kind of broken up right now, just it speaks a lot to the diversity that we have. It speaks a lot to the excellence that our students pursue. Okay, so that I wanted to just kind of get out there right away. So moving on to some of the things that we need to talk about as far as what it's going to take to be in the band and what some of the expectations are. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we'll go ahead and get that started. Just 2 seconds here. Oh, maybe I can't. Oh, there we go. Corey, it says I can only share a file or I have a new whiteboard.
Alrighty. That didn't work the way I wanted it to. So the arrow with the in the box at the bottom with the circle, is it grayed out, or is it just allowing you to share those?
It's allowing me, let's see, do you want to become the presenter? Let's see if it'll allow me to do that. So far, it's only allowing me to share a file as opposed to sharing a screen. Oh, but you know what? I think it just switched.
I was going to say, it just took mine away, so.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. All right, everybody. So we can see my browser is open. So the first and most important thing that you need to do is put into your bookmarks www.marchingpirates.org. This is our website, and it's the between me and our web manager Karen Karps. We've done a lot to kind of bulk this thing up, and it's got a lot of really great information that you're going to need to kind of get yourself squared away for the 2020 season. You know, the first and most important thing I just want to go ahead and address. You know, we've all seen at this point that the American Athletic Conference has essentially sidelined the band for this season. You know, so that being said. The question you probably has we're obviously going to have marching band, otherwise we wouldn't be having this call right now. But that being said, we are going to be looking at a whole different other slew of performance opportunities. We'll be performing in the stands as sort of a pet band. I'm fully anticipating us doing pregame, doing halftime, playing in between downs, playing in between transitions, media timeouts, those sorts of things. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to kind of continue doing what we're doing. You know, and in addition to those things, I have kind of set in our season schedule for us to still do the things that a marching band does. We'll have opportunities to learn drill, and even if we're just performing for each other, we're going to do that. So we're not going to allow anything that anything that kind of comes down from the conference. In the NCAA to kind of get in the way of what we want to try to do. Even if we can't take the field, we're still going to find ways to perform and do the things that we're going to do. So let's kind of get right into it. So on this website, kind of the first and most important thing you'll need to do is come over here to the About page, and you're going to click on Becoming a Member. So in this section, you're going to find everything that pertains to class registration, checking in for band camp, fees, some of the etiquette, some of the health issues that we've been trying to tackle with regard to COVID-19, the preseason camp checklist, and our season schedule. Okay, but before I go on and I do anything else, the most important thing that you need to know is that everything that we've kind of put together for this season, we've done from the perspective of keeping everyone healthy and promoting some of the guidelines regarding social distancing and limiting the transmittability of the virus. So if you come here to click on preseason band camp health or just general season health protocols, there's a couple things that you're going to see that we're going to do this season to kind of help with things. Okay, the most important thing that you've probably heard about East Carolina is that they've mandated masks be worn at all times. So that being said, obviously, as for wind players in particular, that's not always going to be possible for us. But in that particular case, we're going to be distanced at no less than 6 feet in all situations. Masks are going to be an essential part of the equipment that you're going to have with you, in addition to your instruments, your music, your phone, lyres, foot folders, and so on and so forth. These are just some of the things that we kind of have to do. We have protocols set up for when you are staged off the field, so that you're not coming into contact with your peers, or you're being separated during water breaks. And things like that. So you can kind of peruse some of the different protocols that we put into place. There's some things that we haven't added to this. We're certainly not going to be taking things away from this list. We'll only add precautions just to kind of make sure that we're putting safety as our main objective for you. In particular, we'll be talking to our health. We actually have two medical providers that are going to be serving on the instructional staff. In addition, my wife is a physician assistant. She's worked in the emergency room at a couple different hospitals over the past 5 years, and they've all kind of helped consult on some of the different protocols that we have in place. Taking temperatures on a daily basis will be a part of what we do. Okay, so I wanted to kind of just make sure that you knew that health was sort of at the forefront of what we're doing. Okay, getting to some of the other stuff as I scroll back up to the top of the page here. I want to first and foremost talk to you a little bit about registering for class. Once you have actually kind of decided that you're going to be a part of the Marching Pirates, it'll be important for you to get registered. A lot of students typically have class conflicts that they'll encounter with our meeting time. We rehearse Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 5 to, Dr. Saab, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 5 to 7 or 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so if you have a conflict with that time, I've only encountered one student so far with that issue, and Dr. Staub, you can kind of chime in with this one. But my experience so far has just been a simple exchange between me and an advisor, and we've been able to get the class added on the student schedule. You need to know that at least where I'm coming from right now, that's conflicts are sort of a way of operating. We're fully expecting students to have issues with classes that overlap with ours, and I'm willing to work with those up to a certain point, of course. There's a point at which, we kind of have to say, well, I can only come to rehearsal 2 hours a week. That's something we'll need to talk about. But otherwise, just, be prepared to expect me to be flexible on your behalf. We want everyone to be a part of this. And so that's a part of what's important to me. Dr. Staub, do you have anything with regard to class conflicts in addition?
Generally, what I would say is that most first-year students at East Carolina University are taking classes that are flexible enough, and their schedule is flexible enough to avoid any kind of class conflict with Marching Pirates. Over the past 8 years, what we've done generally for first-year members has allowed for a little bit of a class conflict, meaning you could arrive to band late if you had a class that ended at 3:50. That way it gives you time to walk across campus and get your instrument and then come back to the field, and that might take you more than 10 minutes in the transition time. But generally, most freshmen shouldn't have classes that they're taking that are going to directly conflict with marching band that cannot be moved. And their advisors should be able to help with that, and if their advisors can't, I can ask the School of Music advisor, or Dr. Bassito can ask the School of Music advisor to help.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, so that's getting registered for class, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the season schedule that we have planned right now. Obviously, one of the questions some of you may have is, are we going to have a band camp? If you are registered for band camp right now, then you would have received an email from me this morning that kind of talked about some of those details. So the answer to your question is yes. Even though that we're not going to be taking the field, we still have a number of priorities that we need to work on to get us prepared to do what we're going to do in the stadium. So that being said, we have this broken down into a couple of different things, and all I can tell you about these dates I'm going to share with you is that everything on this call is tentative. There's a lot of flexibility that's going to be needed on all of our parts, myself included, to just kind of make sure that we're adjusting to the changing environment that's presented to us. A couple of dates that you need to be aware of. Okay, so what we've been working with housing on is to work to make sure that there's an early drop-off date for students to actually drop off their materials, the things that they're going to need to actually live. And then there are going to be 2 separate dates, depending on what section that you're in, to actually take possession of your residence hall, your dorm. Okay, so the first thing that you'll need to know is the early drop-off dates. These are going to be July 22nd through July 25th. And all this can be found, you'll have to excuse me for just a moment, but I'm going to share with you the actual housing site. It's campus living, excuse me. So if you come to this site, East Carolina has actually done an outstanding job of providing resources and information to everyone regarding how we're actually going to be getting into the dorm. So I would recommend that you come to this site if you have residence hall questions in particular. Campusliving.ecu.edu. Okay. So between these move-in dates, July 22nd through July 25th, the second one I did mention before is July 29th through August 1st. You'll drop off your equipment, anything that you need for the entire semester, for the fall semester. That'll be what you're going to be dropping off, but you won't take possession of your dorm at that time. So then we have two separate waves that we're going to actually be moving to the residence halls. And again, this is all tentative, but this is what we have planned right now. If you are in the color guard, the dance team, the drum line, or if you are a section leader, you're going to be moving into the dorms on the morning of August 5th. And then from there, they're going to begin the audition process and the rehearsal process for those sections. For the section leaders and I, and most of you that are prospective students, you won't be section leaders. That team has already been selected. But the section leaders and I are going to begin preparing for what we're going to be doing during the weekend camp we have coming up. For every other student who's a wind player, you're going to be moving in on the afternoon of August 6th. Okay. After that move-in, we're going to have our first meeting. The whole band is going to have a meeting at the practice field across from A.J. Fletcher. That's going to happen at 6 o'clock, and then we'll break off into doing subsectional rehearsals on the evening of the 6th from 7 to 8:30 when the sun goes down. Then we have essentially 2 full days of band camp that we're going to be doing on the 7th and the 8th. Okay. To get a sense of what this schedule is going to look like, all you'll need to do is you need to come over to events. You'll click on schedule, and this is going to take you to our calendar. All right, so if you come over to our calendar, you can first and foremost see the early drop-off dates already indicated. You can just click over to August. We'll give that just a moment to load, and then you can actually see the way camp is going to be broken down just by clicking on one of the dates. And so this is what our day is actually going to look like. We've included water breaks and just sort of included things to the best of our ability. So again, formatting for in-person instruction throughout the day is actually not that difficult for us. We can actually work it out so that the students are at about 4-step spacing. That's actually exceeds the 6-foot circumference guideline that's been prescribed by the CDC and ECU. We can actually put basics blocks together. We can put parade blocks together. We can do all those things, and we can learn how to do all this during the time that we've sort of allotted here. So we'll spend time working on our parade block, getting to and from the stadium, working on the music that we'll be doing in between plays, in between media timeouts, and during halftime. We're going to start working on all that during the 2-day camp, both on the 7th and the 8th. On the 9th, we have planned just a real short day. The day before the first day of classes, we just have a quick, a short little morning rehearsal that'll go from 9 o'clock to noon, and that'll be band camp. Okay. After we get done with band camp, then we get into the regular season schedule, which is going to be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 to 6 o'clock schedule. Okay. From there, if we go back to the calendar, give me just a second. Then we start to take a look at just football games, okay? So one of the other questions that may come up is the band going to be traveling, or are we going to be performing at exhibitions? The answer to your question is, unfortunately, we're not going to be doing any traveling this season. Everything that we do is going to be done at Dowdy-Ficklin, or it's going to be done on campus. Okay, so we have 6 home football games. We're not quite sure yet what the format of those games is going to look like. We're not sure what our time commitment is going to be. Again, we're anticipating things are going to be a little bit different, but we're going to be flexible, and we're going to demonstrate that we're ready to play no matter where we're asked to be. Okay, so this is essentially kind of what you have to kind of consider as far as what the time commitment is going to be for the Marching Pirates this year. Looking at again just a real short band camp, our weekly rehearsal schedule, and our schedule for football games. Okay, the schedule for the football games takes us all the way to November 28th. And then, again, tentatively, we have a series of bowl games for which we may qualify. Obviously, the automatic qualifier for us is 6 wins. At that point, then that'll sort of determine, if we're going to be traveling for bowl games, that'll determine kind of where we're going to go. Okay. So that gets us into events. And then I'm just kind of going through my checklist here for things I think you need to know. As far as what things are going to look like inside the stadium, the big thing that we're waiting on is what the capacity is going to look like. I've received a couple of questions, for example, about discounted tickets for parents. I think all of that is going to be relative to what the state guidance is with regard to a stadium capacity. We've seen sort of what some of the other stadiums around the country are doing. I had recently seen University of Illinois announce 20% capacity. But again, this is all speculative. And we'll kind of mention that. Dr. Staub, you have a comment?
I will just add to the conversation as far as rental tickets. In a normal time, the athletic department has offered the Marching Pirates discounted season tickets. And those discounted season tickets have been 50% off for the season, which is actually a very good deal. They're in a very specific part of the stadium, and they're basically as close to the band as you can get without sitting in the boneyard. Now, I can't imagine that the athletic department is not going to want to sell more season tickets. So I would imagine if we wanted to continue this, that they would be allowing that. It's not confirmed right now. Dr. Bacido will communicate with the athletic department, and we'll get a confirmation on whether or not we can do that or not.
Great, thank you. So that essentially sort of wraps up, at least from my perspective, some of the more pertinent information that you're going to need. Again, I think a lot of the questions that you may have will probably be answered just spending a little time on the website. Again, there's a lot of information that's still just kind of hanging out in midair right now. We're in a situation that's changing very quickly. But that being said, we're ready to kind of do whatever it takes. Okay. So I can kind of open this up to questions. I'll stop sharing my screen here. And again, we have several people on the call right now for prospective students. Mary is here now as one of the drum majors, been here for a very long time. Lindsay's been here for a long time as color guard member. And Aaron's been here as a drumline member. They can talk a little bit about what the audition process is going to be for those sections. And just general questions that you may have with regard to just life as a student in the Marching Pirates. I know a lot of students always have questions about how to balance time, how to make it all work. So if you have any questions, please feel free to kind of add them to the chat menu and we can answer. Between Aaron, Lindsay, and Mary, if y'all have anything that you want to add just with regard to life as a member of the Marching Pirates, feel free to add it now. Dr. Staub, also for you, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, I'd say that you've covered a lot of really the big picture, kind of sweeping things that we need to talk about. I can tell you that Dr. Bacido is working his tail off to make sure that every one of you has a really great experience this season. And I have no doubt that no matter what it looks like, that you as an organization are going to have a great season. So ask questions, ask lots of questions, and understand, please, that we might not have the answers to those questions. But we will do everything we can to look them up.
Yeah, and honestly, if there's nothing that if there's nothing kind of that kind of comes to you right now too, you can always contact me. Just for public knowledge, my email is Basito. It's my last name, B as in boy, USUITO, J20 at ecu.edu. You can contact me anytime. There are a couple of questions that have kind of that have popped in here. Thank you, Corey, for supplying some of those. Some of the changes with regard to purchasing marching band shoes. So the answer to the question is, so right now there's a $32 fee for purchasing marching band shoes. I haven't heard about, first and foremost, that number changing, but second, we have been discussing about altering the uniform for this season. Again, just to kind of help control what the uniform is being exposed to. Obviously, it's very hot in North Carolina, especially in the very beginning of the season, and everyone's perspiring a lot, and it opens up lots of opportunities for for bacteria to just kind of sit somewhere. So that's not a decision that's been finalized yet, but I need you to know that we are considering changing the uniform for all that. Audition process for the color guard. I'm actually wondering, Lindsay, would you mind chiming in and kind of talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, so normally it's a 2 to 3 day process of learning like the fight song on flag, some basics, some tosses, our stand dances, and then at the end we just do like a short audition of some tosses, the fight song, and some poms. But I don't know if Linda's going to shorten the time period to learn or not, or how auditions are really going to last.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And for those of you that don't know, our guard instructor is Linda Kochman, and her contact information is also on the website. As she has seen members sign up, she's done a fantastic job of kind of getting everyone on the same page, and she's going to be communicating with potential color guard members about what the expectations are going to be. So that's that with regard to guard auditions. Question about dining plans. When do those start, and how does that sort of affect the band? The answer to the question is I don't actually know yet. It's a question that I have. And Dr. Staub?
The dining plan starts on August 4th. So as soon as you get there, your dining plan will be already instituted. Excellent.
Very good. Is there an opportunity to join the band in the future if you don't march this year as a freshman? Absolutely. Anyone can join the Marching Pirates at any time. That's sort of one of my big things. Is if this season doesn't fit into your schedule, or if it's not going to work for you personally, or for whatever reason, you're welcome with us anytime. And you can start this process. If you're a senior, if you're a junior, so on and so forth. You're welcome to join it. I want you to know, more than anything, that we want to make it work for you just as soon as possible. We're one of the things that we're going to be doing is obviously kind of building on traditions, and the most important thing that we do to help build some traditions is obviously how we retain students through the years. And the more students we have that are staying with us year over year, the deeper those bonds grow and the deeper our traditions grow. So that's going to be pretty important to me for this first season. Is there a specific time we need to check in on the 6th? So as far as the timings go, that's a question I have into Campus Living right now. I know that they're still waiting to confirm all those times and dates still, but that's a question I actually have in place right at this moment. Dr. Staub, do you have anything on that by chance?
On which part again?
Just about move-in times for the 6th and on the 5th as well.
I don't have the exact numbers, but I have a feeling it's a window of time.
Yeah.
But I think those times need to be worked out between us and housing here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Good. We had a question come in about just general fees and things like that. So there are some fees, but again, with some of the changes to the uniform, this is going to be a little bit flexible. So we've talked about shoes. The normal cost of shoes is $32, $35 for the color guard. Typically the students wear gloves. It would be $6 for 2 pairs. But again, that may change as well. We use flip charts. So the flip charts are, I have a different name for them. I either call them flip books or flip folios. They just have a million different names. But they're those music folders that go on your instrument. Those come with 17 windows. Those are $15. One of the things I'm going to be pushing, that is sort of an old way of, it's sort of an archaic way of doing music and drill and all that stuff. And I'd like for us to transition to a digital model, obviously for the environmental reasons, cost savings, so on and so forth. And so everything that we're going to be doing is going to be built digitally. We already have a lot of our music is already put onto the website, and when you register to be at Bandcamp, we actually have a student portal that has a password, and that's you can gain access at least to the pregame music, and the warm-up routine is already up there and ready to go. So you can actually access that on your phone at any time. And then they also make these things called E-flips, and the E-flip attaches to a traditional lyre. It's essentially just a clamp that kind of holds your phone right in place, right in front of you, as kind of like a normal flip folder. So those are going to be some of the things that we'll do. We'll also do drill on our phone as well. There won't be any printed drill charts unless students specifically request it. But you know, by and large, we're going to be using an app called Ultimate Drill Book whenever we actually do drill, and we'll kind of go from there. So that'll be something that you know, obviously we'll pursue a little bit later on as drill becomes a more prominent part of what we do. Obviously, for the beginning of the season, it's certainly not going to be something that we'll focus on. But just kind of know that that's a direction that we're going. Let's see, do we know if there's going to be an alumni weekend? ECU Color Guard alumni and is curious. Dr. Staub, do you know anything about that, if there's still going to be an alumni weekend?
I'm still talking to the Alumni Association about this. We're trying to figure out whether or not this is going to be feasible or not. So it's a great question, and I'm sorry that I don't have an answer to that question yet, but the answer to that question is just basically that we don't know yet.
Sure.
I'm going to add another thing to the cost of marching band, just to remember that marching band is a class, so the other cost is that you have to register for the class. So the credit hour cost for the class is something that you have to take into consideration as well.
Very good. All right, excellent. Let's see, just a couple more questions here. The process for if you have a conflict, okay? If you have a conflict, you need to email two people, at least to kind of get things going, okay? First and foremost, emailing your advisor in your academic discipline is a great place to start, and obviously you need to CC me on that email. And that way we can kind of talk about what the conflict is, and we can make sure it just gets taken care of quickly and easily. If need be, we can also involve the music advisor. She's been very, very helpful as far as getting all that kind of squared away. Dr. Staub, I forget, what is her name?
Beth Fuller.
Thank you, Beth Fuller. So those are some of the names and some of the people that you'll need to be aware of. Your academic advisor, myself, and Beth Fuller, who is the music advisor. Let's see. Do you know what time the guard has to be there on the 5th? Yeah. Again, it's one of those questions that's it's one of those things that's still up in the air. There'll be the window for move-in on the morning of the 5th, and then the expectation right now is for us to essentially start these blocks after the next meal. So if the students are moving in during sort of like the breakfast morning time, they would get lunch at noon, and then theoretically, I foresee us starting at about 1 o'clock. So that's my best guesstimate at this moment. Awesome. Thank you all very much for those questions. Does anyone have anything else?
Hey, I was going to add something about being a student, if you wanted.
Yes, please.
So it's hard to balance everything, but you have your section leaders, you have your the other people in your section to help you through it. You can all study together. You can ask them anything you want. We're all a big team together, and we're thinking of doing a grouping system where like we randomly pair up a few new and a few returning members. And then we'll give you each other's contact information, so you'll have like a random group who you might have not met those people before, but they could be like a similar major to you, and you could study together and all that kind of stuff. So you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to anyone. We made the percussion has an Instagram page, color guard has an Instagram page, brass has an Instagram page, and woodwinds have an Instagram page. And if you just search ECU Marching Pirates, brass, and woodwinds and all that, you can message us through there, and a section leader will respond to you with any questions that you have. And we're here to help you.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the section leaders in your leadership team, they've just been phenomenal. Just working to make sure that, you know, those of you that are prospective students, just working to make sure that, you know, you have information that you can kind of get to know the Marching Pirates before you get here, and you can kind of learn the things that you need. So Mary, thank you so much for that. Cool. Anything else, guys? Okay. Well, the very last thing that I'll say is I want to extend just a real sincere thank you to Corey that has invited us to have this call, and I'm real thankful that she's made this opportunity available for me to get to kind of talk to you about you know, what to expect this season. You know, again, I know you have a lot of questions. I know that there's a lot of things that we didn't answer. You know, but what I can assure you is that we're first and foremost, we're going to work to make sure that everything is answered before you get started, and then second, you know, no matter what happens, we're going to work to make this awesome. You know, we don't want 2020 to be considered a blip. Okay, we want 2020 to be an exceptional season, a springboard season, something that gets us, that propels us into the future. You know, I'm really excited to get down there. I'm excited about the potential of East Carolina. You know, and I think that there's a lot of really good work that we're going to be able to do together. You know, so again, I'm thrilled that we got to chat today. You know, and again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, check out marchingpirates.org, and you should be good to go. All right. Thank you all very much. Dr. Staub.
Normally, I wouldn't suggest this, but you might want to encourage people to come to another orientation session later on. That way, when you and I have more information to share and more up-to-date information. So the people that came today, they may have more questions, and they may have, and we may have more answers at that point. I would just maybe encourage us to post our July 22nd and August 3rd orientations times on that calendar. And anybody that came today is welcome to come back to another orientation session.
It's great. Yeah, and everybody, as you register for band camp, you'll get emails from me that'll have some of those, that'll have links to those. So similar to an email that I sent out earlier today, I'll continue to kind of send those types of communications out, and then we'll also include all the details in the calendar in the events tab. All right. Yeah, great suggestion. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you again, everybody. I guess that wraps it up. All right. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.